Hi, this is MLT and welcome. So the topic is empaths. It's not all the narcissist's fault. So let me explain. Until people are able to admit that there's actual real spiritual warfare going on, none of the pains of any type of abuse that people experience are going to make any sense. So you have to acknowledge the concept of good and the concept of evil and the concept of something greater than both in order for this to make any sense. Now, there are many factors that are involved here, and each of us, we are light and we are needed to face the spirit of evil that is moving. But this evil found you because to some degree you reflected it. Now, before you get upset and say, no, I'm not evil. No, you're not evil. But we all have dormant seeds inside of us. So for the sake of simplification, let's give this a number. So for the narcissist, let's say that they're operating at like 80% consciousness of evil and 20% consciousness of what's good. For the empath, they're the opposite. They're operating at 80% consciousness of good and 20% consciousness of evil. And here's our spectrum. We all start off in this life at neutral. That's our innocent, blank slate state. However, we have potential to go either way, and we have a potential to activate based on the choices that we make, how evil we go and how good we go. Okay? Now, in this example here, that 80% darkness in them is attracted to that 20% darkness in you that is similar. They are your mirror. And you, in the human, also remind them of the light that they're missing or that is very dim inside, which is why they resent you so much. Now, God calls us to be humble, to be exposed and to reveal the darkness in us so it can be removed. And sometimes, unfortunately, they're what's needed for that humbling to occur. So they're both your curse and your blessing. Now, you may say, so, a child is innocent. They didn't deserve that. And you're absolutely right. Child is innocent. They did not and do not deserve the abuse of people who are very antagonistic, very narcissistic, their demonic spirits are very empowered within them. And no child deserves that. Now, with that said, yes, a child is innocent. They are neutral with good potential and evil potential already built into their DNA. And that, what I'm referring to, is their spiritual DNA, because we are all descendants from the tree of good and evil. So we don't want to forget that, because without that, it will not make sense. All of us, after the fall of our first parents, come into this world with corrupted consciousness. Which can be equated to like a contaminated ether that we all enter into when we're born. Now, that corrupted consciousness was a result of them eating and consuming the tree of good and evil. That is our spiritual DNA now. That makes us all descendants of that. Now, we, even though we are innocent blank slates, children already have the predisposition, that spiritual DNA, and which harbors the codes and the instructions. And that's inherited and passed down like physical DNA is inherited from our parent. Now, all things have instruction built into it because everything is information. Consciousness is information, and it's awareness of information, which makes it conscious. Now, consciousness at different levels, people have consciousness at different levels and for different purposes. Now, each person and their family members, they come with their own profile. So you get to inherit your own type of generational curse and generational blessing. And whatever yours is, these darker spiritual beings, they know each other, even if you aren't aware of what's been passed down to you. It's already inherent. It's already inside and in you. So we all harbor seeds of goodness and evil, and they mature as we mature. But when you're a little innocent child, at that time, they're like dormant and they're not activated yet, because you don't even have an understanding of the world and what's going on around you. However, evil knows evil, and evil knows how to activate it. Now, it sees the seed inside of you. It sees them both. But like knows like. And that's what it's drawn to. And it also knows the fruit that you will bear if this seed is allowed to mature. And that's what it's seeking out. And you get to choose, especially once you get older, which seed to activate by your choices, and what information in this world, good or evil, and the spectrum in between, that you're going to entertain. Now, you didn't know what your flavor profile was and is, but darkness, dark spirits, that dark energy, they do. They've been here for a very long time. So now, it must ensure that the ground in you is being fertilized with the right kind of fertilizer, which would be doubt, to grow its seed. Now, while it's simultaneously feeding off of you as spiritual parasites and leeches do, it doesn't want you to die, at least not yet, or it would have to find another host. So it continues to fertilize the tree inside of you. And what is that fertilization? It's more corrupted consciousness, which allows the tree of good and evil, particularly the seed of evil inside of you, to flourish. Now, we are unfortunately born with these two conflicting identities. And they know this about us. Now, we also possess the full spectrum in between. So nobody goes instantaneously all the way to the dark side, just like nobody's instantaneously all the way at the good side. With all bits of energy that are thrown at you and information that is thrown at you, it contributes to what you know, and it contributes to what you are becoming. So you're maturing and you're growing the same way you eat food, and that grows your body. If your flavor profile is a match with someone else's, now we're talking not just in the spirit realm, but as another human who also possesses similar seeds, and also potentially has already embraced these dark spirits, that's going to be a match, and it is going to attract, and it is going to draw each other. Now, we know, like in the physical world, we see that opposites attract. Well, in the spirit realm, like attract like. Now, thus, the toxic, demonic, narcissistic relationship is born. Even if you are not carrying out the corrupt behaviors and abusive behaviors that people who already have embodied those spirits, maybe in some of them, most of them don't even know, but that's what narcissism is. There's a lot of demonic strongholds that have overtaken this person, and abuse is what they carry out. So even if you are not carrying out their actions and their behaviors that the narcissistic person is, the very fact that the seed is in you is enough for you to be drawn to each other. Now, their goal in this partnership is to grow. However, even though your ratio is opposite of the other. And because of this, your light, your good seed, your good knowledge, and that good tree that you've been trying to fertilize, and that which is greater is resisting them. That resistance right there is the trigger that causes their bad seed, their bad tree, that bad knowledge, that person who has fully grown in that realm to weaponize. Now, the empowered demonic spirits within them will use fear, terrorizing, shaming, instigating, mental, physical, psychological, emotional, spiritual abuse of every kind to attempt to break the will of the good seed, the good tree inside you, and the good fruit that you could bear if allowed to mature. Now, they're hacking away at your branches, and they're trying to saw at the tree trunk. It wants a singular space to exist in. The same way that it has mostly overcome the other person, it wants to continue to corrupt you so that it can overcome you as well. As many people in these relationships soon realize, the only way to eradicate the evil inside of you is to spiritually die. Where there is no fertile ground left for the good tree or the evil one to mature. And from my experience, this is what I had to go through, is to be reduced to ash. And that was my purification process. Now, not as a child, but as an adult. Now, the blessing here, though, that I've learned is something powerful happens. I get to choose a new identity, not two lesser opposing identities, not the good, not the evil. I get to choose something greater. I get to choose to break the curse that was spiritually inherited and choose a new identity. I am now revived. I have a new spiritual DNA and makeup because I am no longer possessing the spiritual DNA from the tree of good and evil, because now I'm choosing to eat from the tree of life. Now I can feed off the tree of life as it never ceases and be reborn and bear seeds of this tree instead and be fertilized by information that's not corrupted, by truth. This is the uncorrupted consciousness that we wish our first parents would have chosen. Now, and then I can bear its fruit. I can finally be pure, 100% in tandem with life, the tree of life. This is God. I now have the antidote, and I now am the antidote for anyone else who is experiencing this same evil and this same warfare. I have all the necessary antibodies, so to speak, to fight off this attack, should it come again, and to help others fight off this attack when it's coming for them. So first, you have to take an honest look at the parts that live inside of you. You have to surrender to truth and ask to be cleansed by God. You have to choose to receive truth only. You have to follow it and be obedient. To summarize that would be submit yourself to God. Submit yourself to truth. And I believe it's in the Holy Bible in James, the book of James, chapter 4, I believe it's verse 7 and 8. It says, submit yourselves to God. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. Draw yourself closer to God and God will draw near to you. It says, cleanse your hands, O you sinners, purify your hearts. Now, this truly is the answer. You need to submit yourself to God. That obedience, I give myself over to you, and resist the devil. Now, the fourth thing I notice is that you have to face every single fear. Do not let them hide in any dark corners of your consciousness. And do not feel like you are in bondage to them. You have to face it no matter what. Ask God to expose your fears to the light, and ask God to expose your insecurities to his light. And understand that those were not yours to begin with. Release them to God, trusting that he is your strength in that area of previous fear. Understand that he is your security, in that previous area of insecurity. Let yourself be humbled. Remove present, former you, false ego from the equation, and let God occupy all the space in your heart. When you need God alone, you truly are powerful and unstoppable. True security is finally achieved. As for the narcissistic people in your life, this may not be something that you want to hear, but pray for their humbling. You are in their life to pray for their humbling so that those demonic forces in their life, those demonic strongholds, can be removed. Now, you saw how painful your humbling process was at 10% or 20% activated darkness inside of you. They have 80 to 90% or more. Their humbling and their suffering will be much greater. And as a new being of the tree of life, you're choosing to trust and walk with truth, walk and trust with God. You have to walk in mercy. It doesn't mean you let others abuse you or continue to abuse you. Absolutely not. If you're continuing to let others abuse you, that usually means you're submitting to fear. We do not do that anymore. We are children of God. We walk with truth. We walk with true power. There is no reason to fear. Now, they do not have the same source of strength that you have. And they do not possess what they need in order to break free from those demons. And many times they can't even see that they're covered. But you see that. And you might be the only person who's brave enough and willing enough to pray on their behalf, to do spiritual warfare and engage in that spiritual battle for them. Now they're covered, and removing those demons, those demonic strongholds out of their being will be even greater in pain and in suffering than what you experienced. Because their demons, their tree of evil was full grown. So hacking away at that and stripping that false identity is going to be incredibly painful. And humbling themselves and becoming neutral and finally finding God and growing in Him, that will be the greatest battle of their entire life. So your job now is to pray for that removal to occur, to set them free, no matter what it costs them, and to protect others from being prey. Pray to turn the darkness and that demonic agenda into ash, and for God to turn the ash into beauty. This is my prayer for you. This is my prayer for them. And as wicked as they may have been in their life, how they tried to shame you for everything, to reduce you to the same reduction that they are, I know how much that hurts. For the pain that they have caused you, where you've had to start over, just remember, God is greater. He lives in you because you're fully embracing Him. You're no longer fully embracing the tree of good and evil. You're fully embracing the tree of life. And with Him, you have every solution, and you have all power at your disposal and at your hand. You can defeat any darkness because you've let the light of God shine through you. So it's going to take time to let go of your resentment and your hatred toward these people who have caused you so much pain and bitterness. But once you're ready and you've reached that point, pray for their humbling. Pray for their dark spirits to be removed. Because in the end, that's what we're here for, is to eradicate evil. So that the kingdom of God, the kingdom of glory, the kingdom of light overcomes and reigns. Amen, amen.